Welcome to another podcast episode by Oliver. Most people call me the coach. Today I have with me the one and only Miss Faith Reid. Now I'm going to give her a special introduction. And this is Talk Your Truth Thursday. And the special introduction I'm going to give you, Faith, is because I've known you for a long period of time. And I know from my perspective, I call you the king, queen maker. You've been in the real estate space for some number of years, but I believe you're known all over the world, from the coast of Sicily to the shores of Maine. Everybody knows your name. They call you Faith, Madam Faith, Queen Faith. So why don't you tell folks who you are and what you do?
Well, Oliver, thanks for that. I didn't know I was that famous. But it's a joy to be with you this morning. I've been in real estate for 28 years, Oliver.
Wow.
And I love it. I've been in the Metro Atlanta area, and my specialty is new construction and working with buyers looking in that space. I've had some training with how to interpret blueprints and how to support builders, especially small builders, and that's where my expertise comes in, along with my ability for sales and marketing. Okay. So I wrap all of that up in a package of really being a good support service to a smaller builder who doesn't have a big outfit.
Gotcha.
My services are perfect for an individual as long as they're reputable. I'm perfect for that individual, and I love doing it. I also love working with, co-oping with realtors, because I get to do a lot of co-oping with realtors who bring their clients to me, and I enjoy working with the realtors. Some of them know about construction, some don't, and I'm able to walk them through that process. But I have great relationships that I've developed with the agents that I've co-opted with over the years. So yeah, that's what I do, and I love it.
Well, see, I think you're just being super humble. And when you're talking about small builders, and for my audience, we have some folks that's in the real estate space, and we got some folks that like follow the coach and understand that it's the messaging that it can convey to everybody. You do custom builds, not pretty much box builds. So when you're talking about helping builders, supporting builders, and working for Builders Rep, you allow customers to take a look at your inventory, and you have some designs that might meet their needs. And we're coming out of the Atlanta, Georgia area, and you specialize on what region of Atlanta that you focus on?
On the east side of Atlanta.
So for those who don't understand what the east side is, that's what side? Get the cities that associate with that.
You have DeKalb, Rockdale, Newton, and some southern Gwinnett and northern Henry County.
Now there's an explosion, a boom that's going on in those areas because the saturation of coming from the center of Atlanta, so most people are moving out east.
Yep.
And for those who don't know, I think Highway 20, what is it, east or west? It's east, right?
East.
It goes to Augusta.
Correct.
So if you're coming in to the Georgia area from that area, before you get to downtown Atlanta, you're going to be hitting all that space that you service.
Right. So going out east, we're a straight shot I-20, as you said, to Augusta, and also people going out to University of Georgia. That space has a lot of things going on. Number one, it's a little bit more land. Some of it is a little more semi-rural, so you get a lot more space with the homes. They're built on septic systems, not so much city sewers.
Why is that?
That's because for the development purposes, you don't see a lot of public sewer going out into your more outside the perimeter areas. So most of those homes are on the septic system, which is really good. Actually, majority of the homes in America, a lot of people don't know, are on septic system. And of course, there's a modern septic system now. But that allows a little bit more land, a little bit more space between the homes, because you have to have a minimum of half an acre when your home is on a septic system. That's what all the health requirements require. So yes, you're going to get more space. It's also a lot less cost to develop a community because putting in city sewer is very expensive. So when you don't have to do that, putting in your streets, running your utilities, and you're good to go. So, and a lot of boom is going out that area now because of the size of the lots. We're able to build those bigger homes where, we're doing 5 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms for 4,000 square feet or 5.4 and bigger, a lot more space. And it's one thing the pandemic did for us, taught us, is that people want that style of living. When people have to quarantine, they want bedrooms and bathrooms.
So that's what y'all concentrate.
So that was our market before, and we really blossomed during that time because that's what people were looking for. They were coming from the smaller, more crowded, more what I should say, congested, smaller homes closer into the city, and they were wanting spaces that allowed them to for their families to be at home together, entertaining spaces, great backyards, being able to do things, people having their own individual spaces in case they had to quarantine. So we saw that market shift out there. You've also got major industries out there. You've got Facebook has an office out there. You've got one of the Rivian new electric plants are coming out there. There's a lot of industry that's going out in that space because if they bring their people here, they can afford the homes out and nice homes in that area.
So what's ironic is that a lot of people, when they come, Atlanta and Metro Atlanta, over 27 counties, a lot of people when they're coming here, they only see what's on Instagram or on the internet. And what they see small properties and congestion.
Right.
So you're saying the way you operate on the east side is that you would custom build with a small builder, you're able to customize the home, give folks some space, and let them live their best life. So that's an opportunity that if you're relocating or you're coming in to the Metro Atlanta area and you still want to have access to the city, Faith is one of those design builder reps that can help you really fulfill your dreams at an affordable price. The good news is we're not trying to promote selling anything on this podcast. We're just trying to promote availability on this podcast. But more importantly, I'm noticing that you have like major sports complexes that's being envisioned through the council and things of that nature coming this way. How do you think that's going to impact the locals?
Positively.
Okay, how so?
Well, Atlanta is a growing city.
That's true.
And there's something about the culture in Atlanta that is unique to a lot of other cities. A lot of cities have a downtown and then, 10 miles outside of that downtown, it ends. Atlanta is sprawling metropolis. You've got north, south, east, west. You've got stuff going on all around, and you can really go out and in each of these outer perimeter areas, they all have their own individual cultures.
Gotcha.
And city centers, and there's so much that's happening. It's like a big a wheel, and then you got an outer wheel that has its own life and culture.
I like that.
And then you can actually go in and out pretty easily with the highway system. Another point I wanted to mention is a lot of people are working remotely now or hybrid, where they not having to live right in the city is not something that they have to have. So that's some of the things that where we're seeing people come out to us because now they don't have that restriction on how they have to live.
So the mobility of
mobility
not coming in the town, but staying outside. So I'm assuming the infrastructure for the proper Wi-Fi and landlines or whatever that may be for folks to be able to do that business, these hubs are coming this way as well.
Right, and we're not tethered to wired stuff anymore.
Right.
So we're sort of free with Wi-Fi and the cloud, so people can live anywhere.
Nice.
So that's well, and like you said, there's entertainment, there's sports, there's entertainment, all that.
And restaurants.
And
oh
restaurants,
my goodness.
and that's spread out.
Oh my
around,
goodness.
So you don't.
Y'all love eating down here on this side, don't y'all?
We do. They do love eating down here in the
Well,
South.
let me shift the conversation to you.
Okay.
So, I know what you do now, but what people don't see that you do, and for those who don't know, if you're in the real estate space, I don't really need to reintroduce her. If you're not in the real estate space, let me take a second to level set the conversation. Now, You're the type of person at the Georgia Association of Realtors, which is the premier hub for real estate professionals that's advocating property rights. You've operating at that level, at the local level, and at the lower than local level to make sure that what agents have to be able to provide for their clients and their customers are available. How have you inserted yourself there, and what are some of the takeaways that the public, and to include agents, can understand about what you do on the political or that side?
Well, that's a good question, Oliver. One of the things that I'm grateful for is that early on in my career, I got introduced to leadership within the real estate space. And I got involved with my local association and quickly recognized that it was important to give back.
Nice.
And with that, I joined really one of the most profound groups that in this industry, which is the Women's Council of Realtors, and that really catapulted my leadership journey, working in the leadership space, being involved with both my local Women's Council as well as my local state association, and how that interweaved seamlessly. And it allowed me not only to learn or to elevate leadership skills I had, but it also gave me the opportunity to help those coming into that space and help to pull them up as well. And when you look at the code of ethics that we're bound by as realtors, and you look at what is required for a realtor to perform the skills, the traits that you need to have in this industry, and you look at the traits of leadership, they're so intertwined that you're basically practicing real estate, but you're also a leader. You help move people to make decisions that are good for them.
And for the public as well.
That's what I'm saying. You're helping your homeowners make decisions that are good for them. And you're doing it in an ethical space, and you're doing it in a space where you're leading them to make good decisions for them and their family for years.
Nice.
Those are, you bring to that a lot of the skills that a leader needs to lead people. So I see realtors who are practicing ethically, I see them as leaders. Having the opportunity to be in organizations like the Women's Council or getting involved with your local association just allows you to really take that to another level in terms of upping your game, in terms of learning higher leadership skills, how to be the best leader, how to use and leverage leadership skills back into your business to be effective, to be credible, and to be influential in your community that you work in. So those are closely tied. With that, having worked in that space for a while, I recognize that one of the things that our Realtor Association does very well is we really and truly are the voice for real estate in the political area.
I was going to ask about that.
Advocacy is very important. And once I recognized that early on, I made it a part of my mission to make sure that if I was going to be a leader and setting an example and to bring us, I was going to make sure that I was a leader, an ethical leader who really understood the value of advocacy, and whatever height I could go to make that happen, that's the space I wanted to be in. So when I make that commitment to be at the highest level of investment in advocacy that our industry allows, that's because it means a lot.
So let me see if I can help the folks that may not understand. So when you got real estate, which is land and anything that encompasses, and you have politics, which is the governance aspect that plays into real estate, they kind of intertwine.
Yes.
So what you're telling me is that in that space, instead of sitting back and not being at the table, you've kind of like through your advocacy and the fact that you want to see things move in the right way for the consumer, for the public, for the real estate agents, and for the realtors, you kind of like got involved at the highest levels. That means that when elections come around, I probably noticed that people are knocking on your door or pulling at your strings to say, hey, Faith, I have this bill. I have this thing that we're considering. Can I count on you to help pass this message along? And as the queen that you are, you take a look at it from your perspective and decide, you know what? I want to get behind that, or I don't want to get behind that. So how do you decide where to throw your weight? And you have a lot of weight in this space. Where you throw your weight behind when it comes down to issues concerning real estate and community?
Well, I think that our association, the Georgia Association of Realtors, does a very good job in packaging that. And they do such a good job that if you are an investor in an advocate, and as well as an investor, then you are tuned to what's going on when it comes to legislation.
That's right.
So if legislation is coming down and it negatively affects, first of all, home ownership and property rights, then we can't get behind that. And one of the things that we are able to do, or our lobbyists are able to do, is to make recommendations to our lobbyists about maybe taking a look at, our legislators take a look at that bill and how that, sometimes it's the unintended consequences that they're blind to, and we're able to show them another side. And if there is a bill that is going to promote home ownership and property rights, or anything that's good for property rights and home ownership and the real estate industry, we're there 100%. We step up to support that in a big way, so much so that our legislators sort of lean on us. And they know that if something is controversial when it comes to real estate, they're going to hear from us.
That's right. That's right. We're going to march. We're coming down.
And I think that when drilling down to our customers, when I'm out in the real estate space with my customers, sellers or buyers, and I talk about that and what it is that we do and what is it I do and what our industry does, they have no idea that there's a body that's advocating for them at that level. And that earns you the respect and credibility in your industry, because it's not just buying and selling.
Not about transactions.
It's not transactional.
It's way bigger than that.
It's way bigger than that. And that's how you really become an influential leader in your community.
So you went from regular leadership to now, depending on your participation rate. But do you remember that one bill in Georgia that was trying to get pushed through the legislation that had to do with if a homeowner owns a home and rents out the property and a tenant doesn't pay rent and their particular personal property, there was a bill on the table that would say allow the homeowner for a tenant that haven't paid to store that tenant's belongings. And y'all real estate folks, and we went crazy. Like, are you kidding me? They didn't pay. We got to kick them out. And you saying store their particular personal property? Do you remember that bill and how we had to fight against that?
I remember some of the specifics of it, but we have to look at the whole, how does it affect the tenant? Yes, we got to look at the tenant's rights, but also the homeowner's rights.
Sure, two rights.
So you've got to look at that closely to see who are we really protecting here? Is it home ownership or some law to protect a tenant that is really not really a real estate related type advocacy law? So we kind of have to really look at that.
I like the way you put that.
And typically it comes out in the wash.
Sure.
Usually it comes out in the wash, and once you get people to see that this can't be right for property rights and home ownership.
Gotcha.
Because then there's always the unintended, what's on the other side of that bill. That may sound great for the tenant, but what's on the other side of that? How is that negatively going to impact real estate ownership into the future if that type of law was passed?
Gotcha. So let's talk the future, because as we get ready to put this on wraps, let's talk the future. How do you see real estate, and as it pertains to real estate professionals and some of the things they should be doing, and or consumers, some of the actions they should be taking to secure a piece of this American pie? What's your view on the next maybe 6, 12, 18 months?
Well, I believe that I can only speak for Metro Atlanta, really, because that's my market. And I feel that there is so much growth here, and the projections by all of the economists and experts in the state is that we're going to continue to see growth even when other states may slow down a little bit, depending on what's going on in the economy. So I'm really excited about that. What I feel is important is, after being in the business for as long as I've been, I'm coming up on 30 years in the industry, and I have to begin to look at, Oliver, is what is my exit strategy? One of the things that I've done really well is build a good team. So I've got a good team behind me, and I'm now talking with them about, how does this look? What's the 5-year plan? What does that look like? How do I continue to be in the industry but not be the rainmaker?
That's right.
On the team, or as you call it, the queen on the team. So those are some of the things that I think that realtors who have been in the business for a while need to put that in their 5-year plan. What does that look like? You know, they say real estate agents never retire.
That's true. I heard that rumor. They just hang their license to come back when you call them, right? Go ahead.
So you can, but you still have to have a very thoughtful, methodical path that you are working on to get there successfully. And that's where I am right now, looking at what that means, looking at decisions that I make, what sort of leadership ascension do I want in the industry, and is it even necessary for me to go that route without and stay effective with my business? You know, how am I going to start, stepping down as the queen or the rainmaker, the queen maker, and develop other queen makers that I have sort of worked with for years? And that's where I am concentrating now. That's a big thing for me right now. What does 5 to 6 years, because we're not going to last forever. We don't have the energy that we had. So that's what I'm looking at. And I see that real estate has sort of changed a bit in terms of the way younger people view it.
Yeah, that's true.
I have a daughter and a son who are, they're in their early 30s, and their whole concept and take on real estate is dramatically different
from yours,
from mine when I was their age. They have access to so much now that they don't see real estate ownership as something that is, I have to have this. This is a tradition that they see it more from an investment standpoint, where I'm buying a house, I'm not buying a home. I'm buying a house, I'm going to live in it, but it's also an asset that I have. And how fast can that asset turn for me? So they think differently and they behave differently. And I think that's one of the things that is an interesting dynamic as we see younger realtors come into the space and younger buyers come into the space. The traditional methods of buying and selling real estate, marketing and selling real estate is changing. And we're seeing it before us.
And the good, the bad, and ugly is God ain't making no more land. So no matter how you look at the aspect that resource is pretty much already been identified. So however people see real estate in the near future, they tell me that it's best to buy and wait versus wait and buy. So regardless of rates, regardless of what's going on, if the opportunity presents itself and you position yourself properly, we advocate home ownership, multiple home ownership, to include investment property. There's always a safe and a good purchase opportunity. So Faith, how do we reach you? How do we connect with you? And how do we keep up with you in this new world of social?
Well, I'm not a big social media, I would say, expert. I just stay on Facebook. I do some Facebook, and I have my marketing company that I partner with. They do a lot of posting for me, LinkedIn, and some of the others. There's value to that, and it allows me to keep up with friends and buddies. I'm probably not big on that. I'm not an Instagram or TikToker. I'm not on that every day. That's just not something that was ingrained in me, but I do recognize that if you are in real estate, you do have to have a social footprint.
But you got staff and folks for that, right? So is it safe to say that we can reach you at faithreid.us? metrobrokers.com?
Yes.
Right? And that's Reid spelled R-E-E-D?
R-E-I-D.
R-E-I-D. So you can reach Faith at Faith, reid.metrobrokers.com. That's the brokerage that you serve, but you collectively negotiate with everybody, because being at the level you are, there's no I's and little U's. It's all familiar to you.
And not to brag, but I've been out there and in this space for so long. I've got a 5-star rating on Zillow, which I don't know if some
You don't
people
even know
take
how
that.
I posted up there, right?
But I'll just tell people, if you want to get in touch with me, just Google me.
Just Google. So at least you can be found by Google, right? Faith Reid, you can Google there and all the magic
Faith
happens.
Reid Real Estate, yes.
I want to thank you for your time. I know that when you came in here, you said you got 3 or 4 things going on, but you also made the time. I'm looking for a space to do the interview. For those who don't know, Faith said, let's go in this room, pull that curtain up, we're going to do it this way. In other words, in her mind, she always sees the big picture. And by seeing the big picture, it'll always come together at the end. Do you want to leave one particular tip for an agent and or consumer from your perspective, short and sweet?
Yes, if you are working a buyer's agent, make sure that you have a database of with your sphere of influence, and categorize them, because not everybody in your sphere is at the same level. So I like to tell, especially my newer agents, have A sphere and a B sphere. What do you mean by that? Your A sphere would be the people who, when you call them, they know exactly who you are.
Right, right.
You don't have to remind them. Your B sphere are the people who are acquaintances, who you may have to remind them how you know each other, maybe where you met, and it's not, and you market to those people differently. Your A sphere, you market to them differently, because these are people who know you and you know them.
Gotcha.
That's the key that I would say for if you're working in the buyer spaces. Make sure you have that sphere of influence, and the reason for that is if you're keeping in touch with them, you want to be top of mind when somebody mentions real estate, they'll mention you because you're connecting with them. For people who work with sellers, I want to say this: make sure that you're very, very involved in the neighborhood, the community that you are marketing yourself in. Don't just go farm a neighborhood without getting really involved.
Takes time.
In that neighborhood. Sponsor the football team. Go to these football teams have, the high schools have places where you can begin to put your name out there, go to the businesses and connect with them, find out what it is that they do, what are the special things they're offering in the community, so that when you talk to sellers that you're farming, tell them about what's happening in the neighborhood. So you become a household name by the time you get to that listing appointment.
So a brand within a brand.
A brand in the brand.
So whatever you're at, whoever you're working for, if you're not known in this space or in the aspect of neighborhoods or community, that's your first step. You got to get involved. You cannot be a secret agent in the year 2023. Either people know that you're in the business or they don't know that you're in the business. So don't be upset if somebody selects somebody else because they never knew, because you never put it out there in such a professional manner to be recognized.
And there are opportunities to us also. Get involved with the Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber
in the
of
area
Commerce.
that you're going to be. Get involved in your Chamber of Commerce. Get involved where you can get information that is information that a seller would not know, that could impact their community and their area. Really get involved. And if I can't say it enough, make sure you get involved with advocacy. Make sure you become an RPAC investor. Make sure you get involved, because you don't want to lose a listing to me because I'm talking to a homeowner about advocating for home ownership and all the things that I do, and you come in behind me for that listing and they ask you, are you involved in advocacy? And you are looking, what is that? What are you talking about? So I would say.
They say, okay, you better, I'm still out here until the 5-year plan goes into full effect. So if I'm competing against you, if you're a real estate professional and you're not in that advocacy arena, watch it, because that might be a notch on your belt or your tie that they don't have.
Yeah, sellers want to know that you are advocating for them.
Yeah,
exactly.
No doubt. Because at the end of the day, it's a very valuable asset, and it want to be held in trust. In other words, folks want to trust the people that they're doing business with. And for that, we thank you. We thank you for your time, your explanation. And for those who are not following me, hit the subscribe button, stay in tune. And remember, the Talk Your Truth Thursday, I thought I'd come up. I was going to quit a couple of weeks ago. Two people were like, what are you doing, man? I'm using this stuff. Keep them coming. So for that case, I am going to keep it coming. Thank you again, Faith Reid. You can find me at oliveradams.com, Oliver Adams Coach, or Coach Oliver Adams on any social platform. Again, we appreciate you, and the more you subscribe and like, the more we go ahead and bring you the top of the spear, individuals that know what they're doing as it pertains to Talk Your Truth Thursday. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.